Imagine treating human history not as a continuous timeline, but as a massive software program. When you analyze the underlying code, you find glitches. To see how deep the programming goes, we need to stop viewing historical events as isolated accidents and start treating them as a pure dataset. We are going to run a diagnostic audit, comparing the absolute rulers of antiquity directly against the kings of the Middle Ages. This matrix shows the biographical profiles of major Roman and early European leaders. If we pull the data for Julius Caesar and his successor Augustus and scan forward, we find a mathematically precise mirror, Charlemagne and Charles V, sitting across an exact, unnatural 800-year gap. Check the death dates. Augustus dies in 14 AD. Charlemagne dies exactly 800 years later, in 814 AD. This diagram maps the connections further, showing that the pattern scales up. The end of Charles V's reign falls exactly 2 800-year cycles after the era of Julius Caesar, complete with retroactively tweaked birth years to make the data fit perfectly. These biographies function as pre-programmed scripts, leaders acting as NPCs executing the same 800-year instruction set. It's a system failure, a critical error in the historical database. To verify the error, we have to run this 800-year parameter against the largest files in the system, the rise, collapse, and conquest of empires. This flowchart tracks ancient power centers. Greeks conquer Troy around 1184 BC. Run the clock roughly 800 years. Celts sack Rome. Skip another 8 centuries, Visigoths sack Rome. And 800 years later, Franks conquer Constantinople in 1204 AD. This map isolates the Teutoburg forest, anchoring 3 historical layers. In 9 AD, Roman legions are destroyed. Exactly 800 years later, Charlemagne's Saxon Wars begin here. Another 800 years pass, and the 30 Years' War resolved nearby in 1648. When a developer builds a game and places multiple major boss fights in the exact same room to save time, it's called a reader-fervented asset, a reused asset. We are looking at programmed military loops. Political conflicts are one thing, but if this is truly a rigid simulation, the background environment should glitch too. We need to check the biological code. This schematic compares global catastrophes. In 542 AD, Justinian plague decimates Constantinople. Exactly 8 centuries later, the Black Death strikes the same location. Invaders mirror this. Huns sweep Eurasia in 451 AD, followed by Mongols exactly 800 years later. The system appears to be executing a scheduled server wipe, using these overlapping catastrophes as a literal copy-paste error to reset the simulation's population at fixed intervals. This master dial visualizes the full scope of the interval. These perfectly mirrored 800-year connections converge across Antiquity and the Middle Ages, forcing the source material toward a radical hypothesis about our origin. When we see mathematically consistent patterns across thousands of years of plagues, wars, and emperors, we are left with the construct hypothesis, the theory that our timeline is not a natural evolution, but a deliberate forgery. If we accept the mathematical precision of these errors, the ultimate implication is that the simulation booted up during the Renaissance. The 1400s aren't just another century, they represent the actual start of the recorded dataset. Under this theory, everything traditionally dated before the Renaissance, the Roman legions, the Greek philosophers, the empire of Charlemagne, exists as data, but was never actually lived by conscious human beings. The entire pre-Renaissance era behaves like a massive lore file. It is a pre-rendered backstory generated by developers who utilized a simple 800-year loop to instantly manufacture thousands of years of fake cultural context for our world. Warning tone. If our task is merely a coded dataset, we must question every pattern we find beneath the surface. Because if history is a repeating script, the next scheduled loop is already written into our future.